Over the course of the summer, the Premier League club has spent a record 2.37 billion on new signings. Some of that money was well spent, some of that, well, wasn't, to say the least. Following the transfer window, we've decided to rank every Premier League club's 2023 summer business, starting off with 20th place Fulham. The good news for Fulham is that João Palhinha was not sold on deadline day. The bad news is star striker Mitrovic was replaced by two players with a grand total of 9 goals in the last two Premier League seasons. And yeah, to put it mildly, that is not good at all. And yeah, I still think they should be fine, but you know, it could be a struggle at times for this season. But number 19 was Wolves. The big question to ask at the end of every transfer window is, are a team better now than they were at the end of the window? The answer to this for Wolves is no, they are now much worse, losing the likes of Ruben Neves, Jimenez, etc. In 18th, we've gone for Everton. It's fair to say the summer transfer window is a bit of a struggle for them. Basically, every single target they wanted turned them down, but they did end up with some players coming through the door. That being said, though, are the Toffees good enough to stay up, even with the likes of Beto, etc? I would say probably not. In 17th, we've gone for Luton. Luton have built themselves to a much better team than they had last season, but ultimately, one's still good enough to avoid Premier League relegation. But Luton, in the Championship 2024-2025, could end up with a pretty decent squad, you have to say. But moving on to 16, Sheffield United, and Diane Burge leaving a huge blow to them as they head to their first season back in the Premier League. And however, the signing of Arch has softened that. Much like Luton, the Blaze have built themselves a really strong Championship side if they end up maybe going down again. In 15th is Palace. Palace had some decent Premier League quality, but their main was to keep hold of Elise. Elise is only a new deal despite interest from Chelsea will ultimately go down. Yeah, I think without a doubt as Palace's signing of the summer. Moving on then to number 14 and letting David Raya go for Brentford on loan seemed like an odd move, but Brentford have replaced their former number one with equally excellent goalkeeper Mark Flecken. The permanent signing of Shide also looks to be a shrewd one by the Bees. The less said about Neil Maupay signing on loan, the better. Maybe he can rediscover his form there, who knows. But moving on then to number 13, Chelsea. It's fair to say Chelsea were busy during this window. They spent an astonishing 400 million on new arrivals, breaking the British transfer record to sign Moises Caicedo and spent behind 16 new players. And despite that spending, they still don't have a top quality or striker or keeper. Make it make sense. Number 12 is Burnley. Burnley have been bitterly disappointing so far this season, largely struggling to score both goals and can't stop conceding them. They've managed to make the mid-table of the rankings, however, thanks to one transfer. Mike Tressel, last season's Belgian Pro League Player of the Year, joining loan from Genk, coming off a 23-goal campaign, really could prove a key player for them. Moving on then to number 11, and that is Newcastle. After qualifying for the Champions League for the first time in 20 years and with an infinite amount of money thanks to PIF, we were expecting slightly more business from Newcastle this summer. Sure, Sandro Tonali, Livramento, Dance are big acquisitions, but yeah, maybe just expect a bit more now they're top four. But moving on then to number 10, and that's Aston Villa. A lot of Villa's business over summer was by injuries to likes of Mings and Buendia, with Longley and Zion replacing them. While both of these signs could work out, we think Moussa Diaby will undoubtedly be the one who makes the biggest impact. At number 9 is Bournemouth. There were two major recruits for Bournemouth this summer, Alex Scott and Tyler Adams. While neither have managed to feature yet, when they do, I think they'll make a huge impact to the Cherry side and could be worth the money that they spend and really could cement their place now in the Premier League. In number 8, we've gone for Arsenal. This time last month, Arsenal would have probably been top of the list, but since then, Timber's suffered an injury and Havertz, just hasn't quite clicked yet. So the Gunners have dropped down to 8th place. The Declan Rice signing, as we've seen now with a win over Manchester United, has the potential to become an all-time great. At number 7, we've got Manchester United. A dysfunctional as ever throughout the window, and yet somehow did pretty much they wanted. The Rebel Devils secured a world-class goalkeeper, likes of Mount and Amrabat in midfield. Rasmus Højlund looks good, and Zincava as well. They got there in the end somehow. Number 6 is Liverpool. If you watched any Liverpool games in recent week, you know they're worthy of being high up on the list for the shining of Szoboszlai is on alone really. That guy has started off really well. And looks like some signing for Liverpool. In number 5, we've gone for Brighton. Judging by the first few games of the season, the Kings of the transfer market look to have fleeced Chelsea by getting a British record fee for Moises Caicedo, a player once worth $4.5 million. While they also sold star man Alexis McAllister, Brighton added some real quality, including the big loan signing of Ansu Fati. Still unbelievable he's gone there. Number 4 is Nottingham Forest. Trust Nottingham Forest to go out and sign $1 billion players once again. To be fair to them, this time they made some very shrewd acquisitions, including Anthony Elanga, highly rated duo Andre Santos and Ibrahim Sangare as well. Which could be really good and shrewd acquisitions for them. Number 3 is Tottenham. Despite selling their greatest player of all time, Tottenham are number 3 on the list. That's how good the likes of James Maddison will be. since they joined the club. And Ange looks like a really shrewd appointment as well, and one that potentially could guide Tottenham towards the top of the league. Number 2 is Man City. After winning the treble, Man City has seen a number of key players leave, the likes of Mahrez, Gundogan, but replace them with high quality players, as you'd expect for a team like City, and with Jeremy Doku proving to be a particularly fun signing as well. And number 1 is West Ham. Hands up, who thought West Ham would be better after selling Declan Rice? Put your hands down, no one did. After heading into an international break, so West Ham are joint second, having bagged 10 points from their first 4. Alvarez looks like a world beater. Ward-Prowse is the best set-piece taker in the world. Kudos as an X-Factor. What a business for West Ham. But anyway, guys, that's the video. Thanks so much for watching. It's what's kind of a daily football news. Subscribe to the channel, it's going to be greatly appreciated. Thanks so much for watching. Peace.